the crowd here in Chicago absolutely adores little Bobby Sheehan. They love the acceleration, although I know Billy Ray has been somewhat dissatisfied with his defensive play, but he's an exciting hockey player.
He certainly is. He brings the crowd to life, and there hasn't been a skater or an exciting player with the puck since Bobby Hull. And he's like a little water bug out there, but he's not the defensive player that he is on offense. He was a -4 on the year and didn't play that much. Here's Bowler up a 2-on-1 for Chicago. A shot, a save, and nobody there for the rebound. Degler couldn't get a stick on the puck. Here's shot for Montreal. On his off wing, broken up in front by Bordelot. Bordelot for Chicago. Tries to get around Robinson. Shoots the puck in, but it's wide of Dryden and brought out by LaFleur to center ice. Regained there by Russell. A 2-on-1 that time for Chicago.
All right, Brad, a terrific skate save made by Ken Dryden on Bolgarev, and then number 17, Alain Degler, was bumped off the puck and could not get the shot off.
Alain Degler was there for the rebound, but so were 4 Montreal red shirts. They were all around him, and he never could get a good, couldn't get a stick on the puck for the rebound. Montreal is just outstanding on defense. Here's Bill White with the puck now for Chicago. Knocks it in high on Dryden. It was over the net, but he made the glove save anyway and dropped it off. Now it comes to the near board. Bill White holds it in at the point for Chicago. Out in front it comes. Bordelot, a shot, and it goes wide. Kicked away by Dryden. Goes to the far side. Bouchard tries to clear, kept in by Russell. Now it comes to Degler. Degler has it knocked off his stick, though, by Roberts. Here's Pete Mahavlich. Mahavlich from Montreal. A shot! A rebound by Schutt. It goes wide. It's Degler now. Clears it for Chicago. Tries to get to center ice and does. Here's Ivan Bolarev for Chicago. He's got 2 men to beat. He looks to center. He's on the near board. Center's out in front of Degler. Degler shot, and it's broken up in front. What a play by Guy Lapointe. And it's cleared by Montreal. Time and again, the Montreal defense comes to the occasion and keeps Ken Dryden out of danger. A break in the action. And the score, Montreal 2, Chicago 1.
You're about to travel the extra miles the average car will get from a tank full of gasoline by changing to a new, higher-priced synthesized motor oil that reduces friction so well, it can save you up to 10 miles per tank full. New Mobil 1, the oil that saves you gas.
Here's a look at the shot by Steve Schutt that went just to the right side of Esposito. As you see, Tony Sproul to his right, and that sets up a face-off now following the icing infraction committed by Montreal. Face-off to the left of Ken Dryden. Right?
And Makita gets the draw. Comes back to Talon. Talon, a shot just goes wide. Comes to the near board. Out to center ice. Here come the Canadiens. 3-on-2. Cornway with the puck. He looks for Lambert. Jacques Lemaire gets the puck instead and makes the shot. He had his choice between Lemaire and Lambert, and he gave it to Lemaire, and he shot it wide. Here come the Blackhawks down. It's broken up though by Montreal. Florida takes a hard shot. Loose puck at center ice. Yvon Lambert goes to the boards by Keith Magnuson. And Magnuson falls on the puck. Well, the hitting is now picking up. Both teams tested each other early. Had a couple of roughing calls. Russell and Tremblay roughed up each other. And Marks was also involved in one of those and got a game misconduct penalty for saying the wrong thing to Wally Harris. Here's Robinson at the point for Montreal. Broken up by Coral. Taken onto the stick of Makita. Up against the near boards for Chicago. Pried loose to the far board to Darcy Rhoda. Rhoda left wing for the Blackhawks. Throws it to right side to Coral. Coral a shot. It goes wide. Up across the far board. Cornway there for Montreal. Throws it ahead to Lemaire. But overleads him. Recovered by Talon of Chicago. Near side to Coral. Coral takes a check by Robinson. Loose puck comes back to Magnuson. Now to Makita. Makita to Russell. Or to Coral. And it's broken up again by Larry Robinson. Seems like I've been saying Robinson and LaPointe all night long. Puck comes to the near board. Coral tries to get it, but Robinson's there and puts it onto the stick of Andre Savard, or Serge Savard. At center ice is Talon for Chicago. Throws it right side to Coyle, but overleads him. Knocked back out by Yvan Lambert of Montreal. Down to the Chicago end. Montreal changes on the fly. So does Chicago. Sheehan's out there for Chicago. Here's Rhoda with the puck. He's checked from behind by Jarvis. Puck goes into the Montreal end. Out to center ice to Bob Gainey. Gainey on left side. Throws it back to Robinson. Montreal nursing a 2-1 lead. 4:48 to go in the second period. Bobby Sheehan breaks it up. One man to go. Sheehan a shot. A save. Goes over the left shoulder of Ken Dryden. That's 3 good shots for Sheehan tonight in this period. Back with the Chicago end. Russell back to get it for the Blackhawks. Now to Bill White. Blackhawks try to regroup. White throws it ahead to Martin, but overleads them. And it's a washout on the icing. Gila Point back behind his own goal for the Canadiens. 4:20 to go in the second period. Montreal a 2-1 lead. Mahavlich and Savard have the Montreal goals. Coyle for Chicago. Here come the Canadiens. They dump it in. Oh, and looks like Bill White, either White or Russell, and he went head first into the boards. It looks to be Bill White. That's not going to help his back problem a single bit. And it looked like he might have taken that blow on the head.
All right, we get another look right now. That's White number 2. There he makes his move toward the backboard, takes the check, and then loses his balance. And as you said, Brad, head first to the board.
Number 23, Bob Gainey, and I'm not sure that White was able to tuck his head under in time. He tried to, but it looked like he took the back of those boards right on the back of the head. Now the Blackhawk trainer, Skip Thayer, is out there attending to Bill White, and as I say, he's had his problems. There have been back problems heretofore, and White isn't doing too much moving down there.
Number 5 is his teammate Phil Russell, and number 3, Keith Magnuson. Of course, Keith surprised a lot of people by making it back for the playoffs. I can recall hearing reports out of Chicago that he was through for the season.
They certainly thought he would, and Magnuson just wouldn't quit, Marv. He kept on going around to various doctors until he found one that said he could play, and he's got a brace on. I don't know how he does it. It looks like something you can put a knapsack on. It's a corset affair, and it has a steel pipe that sort of goes up the back, and he's playing with that. But Magnuson is sort of the spirit of this team. He's like the Bobby Orr. I mean, you miss him on the bus, you miss him in the locker room, and he just gives this team a tremendous lift.
Here's another look at that injury suffered by Bill White, and the crowd responding now as White is getting back to his feet now. Gainey with the pop on White. And as we return live, there's Bill White skating off, and it looks like his shoulder is the problem right now. Looks to be the right shoulder.
And so as Bill White leaves the ice, there's a break in the action, and the score, Montreal 2, the Chicago Blackhawks 1. Brad Palmer along with Marv Albert back at the Chicago Stadium. 4:07 to go in the second period. Montreal with a 2-1 lead. Face off to the right of Esposito. To the point to Bouchard. A save by Esposito.
And now Magnuson and Jarvis getting involved in some pushing and shoving. Made a statement before, Brad, that I know will receive some reaction in the New England area when you related Magnuson to Orr. You mean in terms of spirit?
Strictly spirit.
Yes, okay. Although Keith has had a good year. Now, he's a guy who has been generally labeled as overrated, but he's had a very fine plus-minus rating this season.
He led the team with a +14. It's a very modest figure, but the Blackhawks gave up more goals than they scored this year, and they only had 4+ players. But Magnuson led with a +14 last year. It was Johnny Marks with a +27. center ice is Talon. Throws it over to Sheehan. Now to Dennis Hull. Far side. Gila Point there. Hull sends it around the horn of the near boards. Magnuson there. So is Martin. And dug out by Gainey of Montreal. And he and Jarvis collide. Now Gainey's into the corner, and it goes to Talon. Centering pass out in front, but it's cleared off by Montreal. Here's Gainey for Montreal. One man to beat. Gainey winds up a shot and a save by Keith Magnuson. And they're going to face it off. No, Magnuson doesn't really have much of a shot. He's strictly a defensive defenseman. He gets psyched up. He's sort of the policeman of the Blackhawks, their most penalized player. And sometimes it's funny to see him shoot the puck. Keith Magnuson. But I'll tell you, off the ice, he's a complete gentleman. You'd never believe it. He's a Jekyll and Hyde. The announcers on tonight's telecast have been approved by the National Hockey League. 3:19 to go in the second period, and the Montreal Canadiens lead it 2-1. The Blackhawks scored first at 10:31 on a goal by Cowell, power play goal. But then at 19:05, Serge Savard got a shorthanded goal for Montreal to tie it. And then at 2:40 of the second period, Pete Mahavlich, a power play goal. Here's Jacques Lemaire, sporting a helmet for the last couple of years. Guess he doesn't want to lose that toupee. Yeah. Number 12 is Bolarev. And number 17, Murray Wilson, to face it off to the left of Tony Esposito. In a close checking hockey game, Blackhawks, after that 4-0 loss to Montreal, have played about as well as they are capable, but again, they are going against a superior hockey team. The Blackhawks with a 10th best record in the overall standings this year. Montreal with the best, and it was a record best. Here's Lemaire, shot, and a skate save by Esposito. Yvan Cournoyer tries to center, and Tony Esposito goes down on one knee and smothers the puck. Esposito had a goals against average this year of 2.93. That's the highest of his career. Little Yvan Cournoyer once scored 15 goals in a playoff. I believe that was 1973, that playoff that they went all the way, wrapped it up here at the Chicago Stadium. He had 25 points that year, won the Conn Smythe Trophy, 15 goals in the playoffs, and that was in only 17 games. And in 71, he also had a great series. He scored 10 goals in 20 games in that 71 series. He's been a great playoff player. And they still call him the Roadrunner. Pete Mahavlich wins the draw. Up the slot it goes, cleared out by Tony Esposito to Cliff Coral. Coral checked up against the boards. And it comes out to center ice. Back to the Chicago end to Redmond. Out to center ice. Phil Russell throws it ahead to Makita. He's got Coral on the right side, but he can't find him. Makita stick handles, tries to center. It's broken up nicely by Serge Savard. Out to center ice, regained there by Cliff Coral of Chicago. He tries to take it in, but it's taken away by Pete Mahavlich, and he throws it ahead for Wilson. Overleads him, goes all the way behind the goal. Tony Esposito throws it out to Dick Redmond. Redmond for Chicago, brings it out of his own end. Right wing pass to Coral, throws it out to Makita, and Makita stick handles now to the near board, tries to get around Lemaire, and it's finally thrown to the far side into the Montreal end, and Serge Savard picks it up for Montreal to Robinson, out to center ice to Jacques Lemaire. Lemaire winds up. A 70-footer in on Esposito, makes the save and drops it off for Lane Degla. Right wing to Cliff Coral, return pass to Degla, overled, onto the stick of Lemaire. Here's a shot, it just goes wide, and the rebound goes into the cords behind Tony Esposito, and they're going to face it off. 1:59 to go in the second period, and Montreal nursing a 2-1 lead.
You know, you look at Tony Esposito, Brad, and you watch a goaltender with a very unorthodox style. He is from the sprawl and fall school of goaltenders, but he gets the job done, plays the angles well, has exceptionally quick hands, and the record speaks for itself. Does not look impressive, but here's a guy who's won the Vezina Trophy twice, holds the modern National Hockey League record of 15 shutouts, played very well in this series against much pressure from the Canadiens.
Exactly, Marv. His career goals against average coming into the season was 2.29, but again, he was 2.94 or 2.93. And the Blackhawks did not have a good year defensively. They had a lot of injury to their defensemen, which compounded the problem. This is Darcy Rhoda for Chicago. Tries to get it to Coral, but it's broken up nicely by Guy Lafleur. Now it comes back to the Chicago end. Regained there by Dale Talon. Blackhawks need a goal to tie it. 1:40 to go in the second period. Montreal, Guy Lapointe back in his own end for the Canadiens. Made the All-Star hockey team of the Hockey News recently. Was his second-team selection last year to the All-Star team. And a little mix-up over there between LaFleur and Darcy Rhoda in front of the Chicago Blackhawk bench. A little pushing and shoving going on, but so far nothing's been called. Darcy Rhoda is a spirited player for Chicago. Blackhawks, though, are not a big hockey team, and they give away a lot of size to the Montreal Canadiens, not to mention a lot of speed. Blackhawks are not a fast skating hockey team. They aren't going to outskate a team like Montreal. And it's very difficult to wait for the breaks against a team like Montreal that handles the puck so well.
Which is one of the reasons that the crowd becomes so excited when number 27, Bobby Sheehan, gets on ice and accelerates.
Draw comes back to Talon of Chicago, now to Keith Magnuson, leads it to Boldarev. Boldarev over the blue line, looks for Bordeleau. Bordeleau, a shot through the slot, and nobody there. Now Talon winds up, and it's deflected high just below the Oregon line. It was on that Oregon that Happy Days Are Here Again was played for the 1932 Democratic Convention when Franklin Delano Roosevelt won the nomination.
Brad, where are you pulling these facts out of?
I did a feature on that organ, and it's a Barton organ. They don't make them anymore, but that organ was part of the building in 1929. It's built up in the ceiling. And if they were to play that thing full tilt, they would actually cause structural damage to this stadium. They played at about 25% of capacity. Just thought I'd throw that in, Mark. Here's Roberts out of his own end for Montreal. Dumps one in on Tony Esposito. Esposito now comes out and throws it to the near board. 49 seconds to go in the period. Montreal sitting on a 2-1 lead. Talon now tries to get it out to center ice, pops it up. Bordeleau there, but has it knocked away by Savard. Goes to the far board, kept in by Talon. Back behind the Montreal goal, taken off by Savard. And he clears the puck up forward to Jarvis. Jarvis at center ice for Montreal, dumps it to the far corner. Roberts goes after it along with Talon. Talon gives him a hard check, or Degler rather. And now the puck comes off to Talon on the near board. Dale Talon for Chicago, lead pass to Bordeleau. Bordeleau at center ice over the blue line, and he's checked off the puck nicely by Wilson from behind. And I think we've got a penalty coming up. Either that or an offside. It's an offside against the Chicago Blackhawks. Only 14 seconds to go in the second period. And Montreal leads it 2-1. Number 17, Murray Wilson for Montreal. Matt Pavlich, number 7, the linesman. And there's little Bobby Sheehan. Used to play for the California Seals. Went to the World Hockey Association for a few years and decided he preferred the National Hockey League. Billy Ray calls him Chowder since he's from the New England area. 3 seconds to go in the period as the Blackhawks dump it in behind Dryden. And it's frozen up against the boards by Guy Lapointe as the horn sounds ending the second period of play. Montreal taking a 2-1 lead on a goal by Pete Mahovlich, the only goal of the second period. It's coming at 2:40. And so after 2 periods of play, it's the Montreal Canadiens 2, the Chicago Blackhawks 1. And as you look at the Chicago Blackhawks entering their locker room, we'll be back with our between period summary after this pause for station identification.
Well, Brad, the season has concluded for the Chicago Blackhawks. Montreal Canadiens defeating the Hawks here tonight in Chicago by the score of 4-1. A rundown of the scoring. In the first period, it was Cliff Carl on a power play from Talon and Redmond at 10:31. Hawks led 1-0. Savard tied it with a shorthanded goal, a disputed goal. Nyrup had just come out of the penalty box, and the Chicago Blackhawk players and fans thought that Wally Harris missed a penalty call on Montreal. As that play developed, Nyrup was able to lead Savard for the shorthanded score. The penalty was not called, and the Canadiens at that point tied it. That was at 19:05. First period ended at 1-1. In the second, it was a power play goal by Peter Mahovlich from Shutt and LaPointe at 2:40, and the Canadiens had a 2-1 lead. They broke it open in the third on the goal by LaFleur, his third goal of the playoffs for Mahovlich at 9:56, and then Jarvis of Montreal off the check by Gainey on Bordeleau that set up the goal. Gainey and Roberts the assists at 14:52 for that final score of 4-1. One penalty called in the third, Wilson for a hook at 17:10. Shots on goal in the third period, Montreal 11, Chicago Chicago 11. Overall, the Hawks outshot the Canadiens 35-26. And as we mentioned before, Brad, now for Montreal, a matter of just sitting back and waiting and trying to find out who they're going to play in the semifinals.
And sometimes that's hard to do. You know, the complexion of this game changed with that trip you were talking about, the trip on Redmond. He felt he was tripped. He did go down to the ice. And Montreal sprung loose on that 2-on-1, Nyrop and Savard. And then Redmond went to the penalty box because he beefed and he got the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. The Blackhawks had to kill that penalty to open the second period. No sooner do they do that, Mulvey goes, then they get the power play goal. That really changed the whole complexion. That one play, the trip that was not called on Redmond, if indeed it was a trip, that resulted in the shorthanded goal. Then the Blackhawks came back and they opened it up more than they usually do. They were throwing caution to the wind. Montreal got a couple of 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s. Esposito stopped them. Finally, it was 1 2-on-1 and 3-on-2 too many. And LaFleur got that clinching goal.
Yeah. The final score, the Canadiens winning it 4-1 to make it a 4-game sweep. Now, Tuesday night, the playoff action will pick up with Toronto playing the Flyers at Philadelphia. That'll be an 8 o'clock start Eastern time. The Los Angeles Kings will be at Boston, starting time at 7:30, and the New York Islanders playing the Buffalo Sabres, 8 o'clock start up at the auditorium in Buffalo. All those series are now tied at 2-2. Meanwhile, the Canadiens sit around, wait it out.
What do you think for the final? You got to like this team, don't you?
That's a tough one because you have to look. I'm not ducking because I was asked about this last week in our first telecast, and I am the worst when it comes to try to select or prognosticate. But it really is tough because you have to try to figure out what the next matchups will be. So I will duck. Brad, I will stay away. How do you feel about it?
I think it'll be a Montreal-Philadelphia final. I think it'll be a great final. Montreal will have the home ice advantage, and I think you have to go with Montreal. I think we're seeing the beginning of a dynasty. I know every time a great team comes along, everybody talks dynasty. But Montreal is loaded, and they've got some fellas sitting up in the press box watching that will be playing on just about any other team in the league.
Matter of fact, Bep Whittle, the coach, or former coach of the Kansas City Scouts, once said that the guys sitting in the press box for Montreal are better than pick up 6 guys, and they're better than any 6 that he would have on the ice. Brad, we have to say goodbye. A delight to work with you.
Pleasure working with you, Marv. Thank you very much.
Okay, from Chicago Stadium, where the Montreal Canadiens defeated the Chicago Blackhawks by the score of 4-1 to make it a 4-game sweep. This is Marv Albert along with Brad Palmer of the Chicago Blackhawk telecast team, wishing you all a good night from Chicago, Illinois.